This will probably be the bit that you like cut apart and make like a really short, snappy thing. And then
some of this is going to definitely be.
Oh yeah, 100%. Rolling.
I don't know. Did I invite you? Did you?
Did I invite myself?
I think Georgie invited herself. Basically, we wanted to get together and do a video on one of the things that gets asked the most, and that's kind of how to get off auto.
Yeah.
So we're talking in terms of photography, and I think you probably need to tell everyone why they should trust you, who you are.
Yeah, why the hell they should listen to me. My name's Georgie Glass. I'm a photographer, also based in Manchester like Sean in the UK. I graduated university with a degree in photography with editorial and advertising in 2013. And I've been a practicing photographer ever since I'm in my 6th year of business. And I shoot for various clients across the UK, mainly food content, but it is a lot of portraiture. I work a lot with influencers, shooting their content for their Instagrams. I also do a lot of public speaking about photography, and do a lot of workshops and things like that. And yeah, one of the most frequent questions I get asked is how to make that jump from auto to manual mode.
Yeah, so shooting on manual mode. I mean, I don't know why did you get started in photography?
I was actually living abroad when I was 13. I was living in Hong Kong with my mum and my dad, and I just got my first email address and MSN and things like that, and I wanted to take lots of pictures to send back to my friends in the UK, and my dad bought me a little digital camera thing.
Yeah.
And I was just taking pictures, and obviously there was nothing but auto on that, and I was just taking pictures of things and I guess doing different angles, and my dad noticed she's got an eye for this and stuff. So my dad said to me, if you're gonna learn photography, you're gonna learn like you would to drive a car, you're gonna learn manual before you go automatic. So he bought me like a 1980s Canon SLR camera, learned all about 35mm, and that was my first shooter really. I had that from the age of 13 to 16 and didn't shoot anything other than 35mm. I used to do some mad shit with my I used to take the back off and pull the reel and try and see what effect it would do. And obviously I'd lose a few photos in the process, because as soon as you open the back of an old 35mm camera, you lose a lot of content because the sunlight just hits the film reel. But I was experimenting from the age of 13 really, and then I was very reluctantly invested in a digital camera when I was 16, and I went to college to do an A-level in photography. I have rented a lot of gear over the years and settled and bedded in very nicely with a 5D Mark III, and that's my little baby now really. And film's just so expensive.
It's a great learning tool though.
It is, because
I think that's the only reason really to use it these days.
I think it's a really good learning tool to start off, because something that film taught me that digital doesn't teach the kids these days is that, I remember having a roll of film that had 36 shots on it, and that was it.
Yeah.
Whereas now you've just got infinite clicks.
Yeah.
And there's no room for error when you're shooting on a film camera. It makes you have to really think about the shot that you want and get it in that one click really. And I think I've taken that mentality through to my digital work now, if you will. I'd rather get everything fixed in camera.
And that's where having a good knowledge of manual shooting.
Good roundabout, good
segue.
way. Oh wow, that was spectacular.
There's not just manual, is there? There's taking control in a couple of different ways. There's different priority modes.
Yeah, 100%. I always say when I'm teaching, if I'm giving a workshop or something, that the jump from automatic to manual can be really super scary. And there's 2 modes between automatic and manual that don't really get explored very much, I don't think. And I think people sometimes, if they do know about them, think that they are cheating if they use these modes, and they're not. They're there for a reason. I often use either aperture priority mode, that's one, and then shutter speed priority mode, that's the second. I often use aperture priority mode.
I probably would break it down as 60% manual, then 35% aperture priority and then
Yeah.
5% shutter priority.
Yeah, I think.
Which I do use sometimes because it's about what you need to control, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think that it eliminates different possibilities, and also it just, you just have to worry about one thing and the camera worries about everything else. I always like to remember that the elements of the camera and of photography is like a little triangle, and you've got your aperture and your shutter speed at the bottom, and then at the top you've got your ISO, because ISO's kind of a bit more of a variable, but you need shutter speed and aperture priority to talk to each other. Shutter speed and aperture, I would say, and that's where those two modes come in, I think. Yeah.
So for me, like aperture priority, the creative thing that you're choosing there is like depth of field.
Yeah.
So that's why I'd use that more than shutter priority, where the times I'd use shutter priority is if I know that I want like some motion blur in a shot, like if you're doing a panning shot and you're trying to keep something in focus.
Basically, the layman's way I like to describe it is if you're in a cafe and you want to take a picture of your coffee or a cupcake and you want it to look all like romantic and in focus and everything else to be like that lovely blurry background, that's depth of field. You focus on the thing in the foreground and then everything in the background goes all fuzzy and romantic looking. And then shutter speed is the amount of time it takes your actual little shutter to go. Basically, the way I like to describe that is, say you're a busy working mum and you want to get pictures of your kids, but they're so busy like running around, they're like crazy. That's when you need to think about your shutter speed, because generally you want to catch something in motion. Things tend to start to blur around a 40th or a 30th of a second. You want to be capturing your kids on at least 100th of a second, I would say, because those little rugrats move like lightning. That's the way I like to kind of think about it. I think as food photographers and videographers, aperture probably comes into play a little bit more than shutter speed, because those cupcakes aren't moving around. Like, you don't need to worry about that. I guess the next thing really is like, how do you find these modes on your camera? Because we're talking about aperture priority mode and shutter speed priority mode, but as a lot of you know, like on the little dial that you get at the top of your Nikons and your Canons and your Sonys, they're not got enough room to write aperture priority and shutter speed priority. So on a Canon, you would find they're listed as AV and TV. So AV is the aperture priority mode and TV is the shutter speed priority mode. Yeah. And I'm not a Nikon user. But
on Nikon, so I was a Nikon user for a long time. It's just A and S.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm not sure on Sony.
Sony, I can check.
Oh.
A and S on Sony as well.
Oh, okay.
Canon.
That was just Canon being awkward. Oh, we're not going to get sponsored by Canon now.
I don't know, like most of the gear is Canon, so.
So I think we asked prior to this video what you guys wanted to like learn really from us. Who the hell are we to tell you guys how to work a camera? But yeah, that was the most frequently asked question, was how to make that jump from automatic to manual. Yeah. And I would say that is like the easiest thing you can start doing. In aperture priority mode, start around f5.6 and then move around from there. As a rule of thumb for aperture, the lower the number, the bigger the hole. So it's like the opposite. Do you like that one?
Yeah.
Do you like?
Yeah.
So the smaller the number, the bigger the hole, and the bigger the number, the smaller the hole. So like when you imagine, so when you imagine it like opening out like that.
Wait, we can use props.
Oh, props.
This is a 4x5 lens.
Oh.
And this is a really good way to show.
Think you can zoom in when you?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. So that's the aperture.
Yeah, that's the aperture. So the bigger the hole, the smaller the number, the smaller the hole, the bigger the number. Yeah. And like I said earlier, the shutter speed it's denoted by how like fast you want the click to be. Basically, you are using these variables to measure how quickly and how much light you're letting into the lens. So the aperture is how much light you're letting into the lens, and the shutter speed is how long you're exposing that light onto your sensor, or like back in the olden days you would have exposed it onto your film using mirrored cameras. A lot of the cameras these days are mirrorless, especially if you're a blogger watching this. You probably have an Olympus pen that's mirrorless.
This is going to be a 1 second shutter speed, which is like really long. And then something like 1/25th is like that.
Yeah.
But full manual is
I feel like full manual might be another video.
it's a bit much.
Yeah, I feel like we're already cusping on the point of you having to edit a lot of this out.
Probably.
So yeah, if you enjoy this video, let us know, and maybe Sean will have me back to do a more in-depth video on manual and things like that. And I think ISO is like its own video as well.
Yeah.
Those are definitely our top tips on AV and TV mode.
Should we recap them quickly?
Yeah, I guess so.
Start it off.
So AV mode is your aperture priority mode, or maybe if you've got a Nikon or a Sony camera, that's the A mode, and that is the mode that helps you control your depth of field, so how fuzzy you want your background to look. Something like a small f number, which would mean a big hole, would give you that really lovely shallow depth of field effect where you will have your cupcake in focus and everything else out of focus. Something like that might be as low as f1.8, maybe up to something like f3.5. And then if you want one of those really crisp looking photos where everything is in focus, then you would shoot anything like f5.63, f5.6 or 6.3 and above. Yeah, wow. And now there's a fire brigade going past, so hopefully you can describe TV mode a little bit better than I just described AV mode.
So time value or shutter priority is how long the shutter's left open. So that, again, is a thing that you use as a creative choice. Your example of the kids is a pretty good one, and one that people kind of will be able to get.
Yeah, I think so. I think like anything where someone's moving is a really good way to remember that shutter speed is your priority.
Yeah.
And that's anything, that it comes in fractions, so it can get a little bit complicated. So you get like a little 1 with a hash and then 50, that's a 50th of a second. But then if you get like a little 1 with 2 little quotation marks next to it, that's a full second. A lot of the stuff that we've talked about in this video can be a little bit overwhelming if maybe you're new to photography or looking into starting videography. Maybe if you aren't familiar with a few terms like depth of field, shutter speed, maybe just go away, take a look over your camera manual, watch a couple There is a cheat sheet coming. I collected loads of information from people in my audience about what they really wanted a cheat sheet to be about, and it was loads of different things, but this might be a really, really good initial thing. I got a lot of requests for food styling tips and specifically food photography tips, but I think something really important to remember is unless you understand the basics of photography, things that we've been talking about today, there is no shortcut, there is no
it's about practice. Yeah,
there isn't a way that you can get there without learning these things, and I think that's why people forget that photography is a trade, and it's a specialism, because you've got to learn all this stuff. It's not as easy as just taking a picture. You can see that I harness a lot of bad feelings towards people who don't appreciate photographers. So I guess we should really tell you how we know each other, how we met.
Yeah. How did we meet?
Well, you slid into my DMs.
Did, yeah.
But no.
Not in a skeezy way.
Not in a. No. We're both taken and spoken for.
Yeah.
No. So we've both been shooting in Manchester for, like I said, about 5 or 6 years, and it can be quite catty in the old world of photography. So it's quite nice to make a friend.
I was relatively new to working with restaurants and things like that, and I didn't want to step on anyone's toes, and I'd been shooting weddings and portraits and stuff like that before. So when I was moving into this kind of industry, I thought it'd be good to reach out to other people, and of all the other people that I reached out to, we've become friends, and it's been really good to have a friend who does a similar thing. Yeah. But also someone who you can pass work between.
Yeah, 100%. I think, like I said, the industry can be sometimes a little bit insular and people don't really like trust each other and things. And I'm sure if you are a photographer watching this, no matter where you live in the world, you'll be able to resonate with that. And to be able to just have one friend in the industry that you know you can trust and share work with. Like Sean said, if one of us is ill, we pass something to the other one. Or maybe, you know, one of my clients is looking for specifically video, I'll pass that over to Sean and vice versa. So that's how we know each other really. But yeah, we met about a year ago, didn't we now?
Yeah,
edging on a year.
Pretty much a year ago in January maybe?
Yeah, and then the rest is history.
Yeah.
If you could go back like to you 5 years ago when you were first starting out, if there was like a piece of advice you could give yourself, what would it be? And why would you give yourself that piece of advice?
Run away. Do something easier.
We want to talk to you guys a lot more about how to be like a person behind the photographer and not just take pictures and video.
Yeah. It's definitely the takeaway should be that you should spend more time on your networking and your people skills than on your photography.
Yeah.
If you want it to be a business. If you want to just be a good photographer and just do it for fun, spend as much time on learning photography as you like, but you're going to spend a lot more time talking to people.
Yeah, 100%.
If you subscribe to this channel, if you find Georgie on her Instagram, which I'll link down below, then you will see the updates as we get them out to you.
Yeah, you're going to get used to seeing a lot more of us together.
Yeah, if you've liked watching us today, then this is going to be something you'll be interested in.
And if you think that there's anything we can improve on as well, let us know in the comments down below. I've never done a YouTube video before, but I've always wanted to do that. But yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Normally, I'm really like curt about it now because I always feel like people don't watch to the end. So I'm just like...
I really want like bye.
I'm just like, right, fuck off.
This is for when you're editing.